What is up, everybody? Welcome into Shout, your staple edition of the podcast. It is Thursday, December 26th. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and are enjoying the holiday season here. Ryan Talbot's in the house. I'm Matt Parrino. What's up, buddy?
Hey, not too much. Hope you had a great Christmas, and all of our Shout fans out there as well. Hope everyone had some relaxing time with family and friends, and now we got another football game to talk about.
We really do. And down at the Bills facility today, they got back to work after a couple days. I don't know if the team was off. I think they did show up on Wednesday quickly, but there was no media access. So this was the first time we were able to watch practice. So we'll get into that a little bit later. I want to have a couple conversations. Obviously, the MVP conversation is happening ad nauseum at this point in the year that I really don't want to dip our toes too much into the water, but a little bit of a conversation around that. I put out a Twitter poll earlier today, and I thought there was some interesting discourse. And then we'll also talk about like the approach to the last 2 weeks, which I think is interesting because the Bills do have to win one more game to lock up the 2 seed, but how they approach things over the next couple of weeks is going to be a little bit tricky, I think, for Sean McDermott. So we'll get into all of that. We're brought to you by Tops Friendly Markets. 'Tis the season to let Tops do the cooking, and you will be the real MVP. Visit shop.topsmarkets.com and elevate your food game with a great selection of custom cakes, desserts, pizza, sandwiches, fresh fruit, cheese trays, fried chicken, and so much more. Save time and easily shop from the convenience of no fee pickup on all the game day deals at Tops. There are no service fees, no tips, just the best deals in town. Score great deals in time for kickoff at shop.topsmarkets.com. All right, here we go, Ryan Talbot. MVP. How do you view this at this stage? Because the discourse on social media is, it's just mind-numbing at times. You know, all of the talk radio, TV talk shows are just, getting after it with daily recaps depending on the game. You know, Josh Allen had these unbelievable odds even just a couple days ago. Lamar Jackson has obviously closed the gap quite a bit. Do you feel like Allen is the MVP, or do you think there's work still left to do?
There's still work left to do. But in my opinion, this should still be Josh Allen's MVP to lose going into what could be his final game on Sunday against the Jets, depending on what the Bills decide to do against the Patriots if they win this game. You know, you look at everything, and I get it. Lamar is having an unbelievable season, one of the best in history when you put everything together. But what's driving me nuts about this MVP race, Matt, is last year's stats didn't matter when the MVP, Lamar Jackson, had 29 total touchdowns. This year, all of a sudden, everyone's bringing up the stats. All of a sudden, he has more touchdowns, more of this. But then they're not looking at it from the analytics with the separation stats, with the EPA, with everything else that still favors Josh Allen at this point. They're not looking at it from how much easier Derrick Henry has made life for Lamar Jackson. I don't know how much of that game you watched on Christmas Day. It was a stinker, obviously, but at least 2 of the scores, they were easy touchdowns for Lamar Jackson because the defense was anticipating Derrick Henry getting the ball. The flip in the end zone to the tight end that no one was covering, that was a pass you and I could have made. I definitely could not have run that touchdown that Lamar Jackson ran. I would have needed a calendar, not a 40 time to get that from there to the end zone. But, they were all, again, they were playing Derrick Henry in that situation. The 8-man boxes that the Ravens see, it frees things up. It makes life easier. I'm not trying to downplay Lamar Jackson, but this was a guy that was the 1 seed last year. He gets a first ballot Hall of Famer running back. He has better weapons than Josh Allen. And you have to weigh everything when you're really considering this.
Yeah. So for me, it comes down to the conversation of, are we talking about the best player, or are we talking about the guy that's been the most valuable to his team?
Right.
And for me, Allen, with the, collection of talent around him, the offensive line has become and blossomed into this elite unit that I think, even the biggest detractors going into the season, and you're seeing people start to really embrace the job that Aaron Kromer has done and all the development across the line. But you can't sit here and tell me that there is not a very limited group of weapons that the Bills have put around Josh Allen. That was the storyline going into this season. We talked about on this show how high we thought Khalil Shakir could fly, what Dalton Kincaid could mean potentially to this offense. But contributions from guys like Matt Collins, going out and trading for a guy like Amari Cooper, who's been good. Keon Coleman was an afterthought. He was this polarizing player in the draft that's come in and had a couple of really big marquee performances in his rookie season. Has he been the best rookie wide receiver? No. Obviously, the injury has impacted that quite a bit. I thought he was kind of putting together a string of pretty good games there before the injury, and we'll see how he finishes off and then goes into the playoffs. But you can't sit there and tell me that if we're talking about most valuable to a team, with what Derrick Henry has meant to that Ravens offense, I tweeted it last night watching that game, what was predicted for this offense when they brought in Derrick Henry has come to fruition. This Ravens offense is scary good because having to deal with Derrick Henry early in games, relying on him getting 6-7 yards a carry at times, and then, oh, by the way, when you get beat up by the big bulldozer that is Derrick Henry, now you have to deal with the most athletic freak quarterback that's ever existed. Right. I mean, don't get it twisted. He's having a sensational season. But I think what Josh Allen is doing with his group on offense versus what Lamar is doing with his group, and, oh, by the way, what really pushed Lamar over the edge last year with a very pedestrian statistical season was the fact that he had the most wins of any of the other big-time contenders in that group. And I thought that was one of the things that was a detractor for Josh Allen. You can't change the criteria a year later.
No, 100%. And that's exactly why this talk as of late has bothered me a bit. And whoever wins MVP, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. You're not going to lose any sleep over it either. But why are we changing? Why are we moving the goalpost after 1 year where the seeding was what was really put Lamar over the top? They're the one seed in the AFC. He's done all of this. And now you have Allen, who can secure the number 2 seed, has put up these unbelievable games. He's the only quarterback that's defeated the top ranked team in each conference, that being the Lions, and the Chiefs. Most likely, or possibly, the Chiefs only lost the regular season, depending on what happens with most likely their backups playing against Denver next week. That needs to go, that should go a long way with the voters and the criteria. But to me, it's so simple, Matt. If you take Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen off their respective teams, I still think the Ravens are close to a 500 ball club with Derrick Henry, with that defense, with a backup quarterback in there, where the Bills would probably be a 3-win team, 4-win team at most. You've seen the defensive struggles this year at times, especially as of late with that Rams game, the Lions game. That they would see a lot of heavy boxes if they didn't have Josh Allen. That would make life more difficult for James Cook. We're not that many years removed from Snoop Huntley fumbling a ball as he was going over the goal line against the Bengals, where they were about to win a playoff game with their backup quarterback against a big-time AFC team that season. They've shown that they can do that in the right situations where, again, you put Mitch Trubisky in a meaningful game and we know the outcome.
It's so funny because you put their schedules next to each other and you really struggle to find a signature win for the Ravens outside of their win over the Bills, which is funny because there's been a couple of signature wins for the Bills. And if we're going by recency bias, they've happened over the course of the last month. You look at the Detroit Lions, a little bit over a month for the Kansas City Chiefs game. I mean, we could be talking about a Kansas City Chiefs team that ends up going 16-1, depending on what happens the last week of the season. And the only team that stopped them from being undefeated were the Buffalo Bills. And Josh Allen was absolutely spectacular in those games and beating the best team in the AFC and potentially the best team in the NFC in the same season. There's so much that goes into that when it comes to just your resume as an MVP candidate. Here's the other point I wanted to make. You're going into this last stretch. Lamar's coming off of 2 really good performances in a week, right? He did it on the national stage. But what we're going to get potentially, if Josh Allen goes out against the Jets, has a really strong performance, and that is his final performance before the MVP is decided, because he's probably not going to play in the last game if they win this weekend. We're going to get a look at what this whole operation looks like without Josh Allen at the helm. And we're going to see Mitch Trubisky or maybe Mike White. I don't know how they end up, figuring this thing out. And that is kind of another maybe feather in Josh's cap if the offense really struggles in that finale against the Patriots on the road, which I think it probably will, because there'll probably be some other players that are sat down too.
Yeah, you'll have some starters sitting along with Josh first and foremost, but Josh creates so much in terms of getting the guys in spots where you can get them the ball, because they struggle to create separation. They don't have a lot of guys that can do that. Khalil Shakir, pretty good at creating separation. Kincaid, when he's been healthy, has shown some flashes of it. But overall, this is a team that really struggles. It's night and day. The Ravens are number one in terms of creating separation. And I saw someone post, well, that's because Lamar can kind of move around in the pocket. They don't count those plays where, they're eluding the defenders for a period of time. They're just talking purely the separation that kind of comes off the line. And the Ravens are at the top of that with Zay Flowers with those tight ends, the 1-2 punch that they have there in Andrews and Likely. And the way you have to account for Henry, and that makes life even easier for the receivers that they have there. Bateman as well, who's finally been healthy and showing off his speed and ability downfield. So there's been a lot that has certainly helped Lamar 1 year after they were the number one seed. You also have to, like you said, you have to look at wins and losses. I don't remember. It's been a while. It's been a few years since someone with 5 losses has won the MVP award. And I did see it on social media today. Now I cannot remember it for the life of me.
Say that again. What can't you remember for the life of you?
Last MVP to be on a team that had lost 5 games.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I didn't see it, but I want to bring up that separation point that you bring up, because what's crazy is if you bring up that chart at Throw the Damn Ball on Twitter, he puts out this chart, and on the left side, it's the accuracy rate. The bottom is the average separation. Lamar Jackson is getting the most separation from his receivers in the entire NFL, right? Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, they're in that bucket of quarterbacks that are just getting tremendous separation. Then you look at Deshaun Watson, who's also near the top of this list, Bo Nix as well. For Deshaun Watson to have had the season that he had, considering the fact that his receivers were getting so wide open. I mean, we've seen Jerry Jeudy explode ever since Watson went out, so it's obvious that he was the problem. Josh Allen, there's only 2 quarterbacks in the NFL with a lower separation rate than Josh Allen. Justin Fields, who they should probably consider putting him back in, how bad Russell Wilson has been, and Mason Rudolph, who's at the bottom 2 with the Titans. Also in the mix there is Dak Prescott, but that's another argument to your point for Josh Allen.
Yeah, 100%. And thank you, Kyle Sheldon, Matt Ryan, 2016. That was who it was. As soon as he put it in there, I said, yep, that was the name. So, it doesn't happen often, but you have to look at everything. And when everything's said and done with the analytics, the advanced stats, if everything points in Lamar's favor and they go with Lamar as a 3-peat winner, so be it. But realistically, right now, I still think Allen should be the front runner for the award.
So I put out a poll today, and I think it's got almost 5,000 votes tabulated in there. If Josh Allen wins MVP, but the Bills don't make it to the Super Bowl, will him winning the award lessen the sting from the team falling short of the big game? So right now, Ryan, 4,400 votes, 26%, almost 27% of people voted yes, that him winning MVP would lessen the sting from not making it to the Super Bowl. And I wanted to unpack that a little bit, because I don't know. I don't know if I get wanting Josh Allen to win an MVP, wanting your guy who's been this all-world talent for years to get, the respect that he deserves. I would push back a little bit and say, if you go to the right places, Josh Allen gets as much respect as anybody in this league. And that's the thing. It's like, if you go to the Chris Broussards of the world and the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, and you're looking for validation for your quarterback, you're playing a game that is there's not any way to win. I think that the people that I really respect across the NFL community that are talking about this critically about Josh Allen's season are giving him the kind of praise that I think Bills fans are yearning for. So I think that part of it, you're going to get, and you've already gotten regardless. But if the Bills don't go to the Super Bowl with the kind of season they're having and the way that the AFC feels like it's achievable to make it to the Super Bowl. I think that is ultimately is going to be what sits with people over the course of the offseason. And I will say the Chiefs are trending in the right direction. Like the narrative on the Chiefs, this lucky team winning 15 games all these weeks, that's kind of going by the wayside. Their offense, it's really starting to click over the last couple of weeks, and they're looking like a different team. They get a healthy Chris Jones back in the playoffs. Right. I still think that's going to be the toughest game. And I know, and we can talk about this in a minute, like everybody's, scared to death about the Baltimore Ravens. We'll get into that. But I would vote no. It's not going to lessen this thing at all, because ultimately you want to get to the Super Bowl if you're a Bills fan.
Yeah, I would agree with the people that voted no on that. If you voted yes, I understand it. Every year there's the stupid quarterback conversations on X where people discredit Allen. Well, he doesn't have any first team All Pros. He was a second team All Pro one year. He doesn't have any MVP awards. How can you put him up there with the Patrick Mahomes and the Joe Burrow and the Lamar Jacksons of the world? Well, if you have two eyes and you've watched football, he's just as good as any of those guys. So that kind of ends that topic. But at the end of the day, Allen would be the first person to tell you that he would much rather win a Super Bowl over an MVP any day of the year. Super Bowl MVP would mean a lot more to him than being a regular season MVP any day of the year. So I get the people who voted, yeah, it would lessen the sting. But Allen would be the first to say that that's just it's a great award. It's great to be recognized, but this is a team sport, and his main priority, his main objective is to win a Super Bowl for this team. So I love the poll. I love the responses that you got from it in terms of the overall, weights of it. But at the end of the day, Allen and this Bills team want to win a Super Bowl. And real quick on the Chiefs, Hollywood Brown coming back, just listening to the broadcast, listening to what the Chiefs players said, how it helped move Xavier Worthy to the proper spot, how having that additional weapon seemingly has helped Travis Kelce get open a little bit more, where Kelsey's had some struggles. The catches are still there, the yards after the catch haven't been, but he's been better these last few weeks too. So you're right, they are trending in the right direction. Did they have a lot of luck go their way before Hollywood Brown's return? Absolutely. This could be a team that had 4, 5, 6 losses as well if just one play went the other way at the end of a game. And we'd be having a whole different conversation about the Bills being the 1 seed and likely Josh Allen having MVP locked up. But those are the breaks. That's kind of where we are now. The Chiefs are going to be a very, very hard outcome playoff time.
Yeah, Worthy playing 85% of the snaps there. Smith-Schuster 50% as their top blocking options. DeAndre Hopkins 47%, and then Marquise Hollywood Brown at 40% in that game the other day. So, I think what it does is it lessens the responsibility on those 3 other guys not named Xavier Worthy, right? They can almost like use them as a collective, and they're out there in certain circumstances probably playing to the best of their abilities, their individual abilities, and it allows Worthy to be out there with all three of them at different times. There was one play, I think it was Juju Smith-Schuster on a wide receiver screen where he just absolutely blew up the defensive back, and Worthy kind of ran one off for about 15 yards on a quick screen. I mean, they're gonna be tough to deal with. You got Isaiah Pacheco getting healthier. You're gonna have to go on the road to Arrowhead. So the Chiefs, who felt so beatable a month ago, the script is kind of flipped there. The Ravens are interesting because I know that it seems like they're built to be a real thorn in what the Bills are in the way that they're built. But I do think that, number one, the toll that's been put on Derrick Henry, it's going to have to start. You're going to start feeling it as the games get harder, right? They're going to have to play in week 18. They're not going to get a chance to take it off because they want to secure that division. So they can't take a week off. They're going to have to play their starters. So that's another week of Derrick Henry taking 20, 25 hits over the course of that game. Then you play in the opening round. And then I think if you go back and look at all of the matchups against Derrick Henry, for as many phenomenal performances as he's had against Sean McDermott's defense, there's a few sprinkled in there. I think they did a pretty good job at limiting him. Now, he didn't have Lamar Jackson, so that ability to kind of play off of each other in their offense is so special. But the key to me against that team, against Kansas City, you have to play from ahead. the Bills, if they get in a situation where they have to abandon the run and they have to start throwing the ball around, and they, a team can really lean into their running game up in a game, the Bills are going to be in a disadvantage in that game. I just think, Josh Allen's going to probably have to go on a similar heater as he did a couple years ago. The defense is going to have to find a way to match up specifically, come up with a plan to limit the destruction that some of these offenses can create. And if they can do that, that to me is the recipe. I don't think there's a team in the AFC the Bills can't beat at home or away. And I don't think the Ravens are this team that I fear. I almost feel like there'd be an element to, all right, you almost like Bills Chiefs, where the Bills got the best of them the last couple of years in the regular season. And then the playoffs, it kind of, the paradigm shifts a little bit. And then,
Right.
the Chiefs have gotten the better of them. I think that could be the case with the Ravens beating them so handily back in week 4.
Yeah. And it could be a case of them thinking it would be another matchup where they really match up well with the Bills. And on paper, they absolutely do. But the Bills did not have Taron Johnson in that earlier matchup. They didn't have Terrell Bernard in that earlier matchup. Matt Milano wasn't in for the Bills at that point, recovering from an injury. So there's 3 key defensive players right there that they're hoping will be back in the picture. They have a lot of guys on the defense right now banged up, but you would imagine that come playoff time, whenever those 2 teams could end up meeting, obviously not on wild card weekend unless the Ravens lose. I don't think they can even fall to the 7th seed. So it wouldn't even be wild card weekend. It would be the weekend after that divisional round. So, by that point, you're hoping everyone on the defense is healthy or healthy enough to play. That would definitely change a little bit of the success that the Ravens had in that first matchup. And as for the Bills, I really do feel like they were trying to figure out their offensive identity at that point. Allen was really still trying to figure out his rapport with a lot of players. Khalil Shakir being the only receiver that had returned, and you're only a few weeks in at that point. So it's a completely different offense, completely different defense. And you say the same thing for the Ravens too. They're obviously rolling and playing good football now. I just don't think that, the result that we saw earlier this year would bear any insight on how this rematch would go.
Thank you so much to everybody that is tuning in here on a Thursday night, a couple hours before, about an hour before the start of Thursday Night Football. Seattle, Chicago, not really getting you too juiced up for that,
Yeah.
but I'm actually going to jump on with our good buddy Sal Capaccio. He does like first quarter watch party on the Thursday night game. So that's at least got me something that's got me excited for tonight, watching a little football. The family actually went to go see Wicked for the 3rd time tonight because the cousins are in from out of town. So Caitlin has just absolutely been grinding on that movie. And this is number 3. This is watch number 3. I loved it. I will say it was a little long. Like it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. So this is going to be the 3rd time they've watched it, her and the kids, in under a month. So, wow. And I will say, Kennedy, we got her a new Alexa for Christmas, and she plays the Wicked soundtrack on the Alexa while she plays in her room. She's singing the songs. It's super sweet. We're going to see.
I was going to ask, anyone dressing up at this point for show number 3? Are they in costume or? What's
funny is they were already out, so that she didn't have access to it, but she got a Galinda outfit for Christmas. So she could have totally gone with the little wand and everything. It would have been a whole thing. So anyway, thank you for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe on YouTube. We really appreciate that. Let's get into the Bills today, the situation facing the Buffalo Bills heading into the Jets game. So the number 2 seed is on the line against the Jets this weekend. It appears that Aaron Rodgers is going to play. Devontae Adams, maybe a little bit of a question mark. I bet that he does end up playing as well. Oh my gosh, Lauren says that Wicked's going to be available on digital on December 31st. Do not tell my wife as they're going and doing it one more time. So some updates injury wise today. The 5 guys that were limited yesterday, 4 of them were limited again today, and they were all in red non-contact jerseys. So something to monitor over the course of the week. Safeties, Taylor Rapp, Damar Hamlin, and Cam Lewis. Wide receiver, Curtis Samuel. I think there's a really strong chance that maybe none of those guys play on Sunday. They were all limited again today. Maybe Cam Lewis could play with Cole Bishop, the rookie, which I want to talk about him in a second too. Matt Milano was limited yesterday. he was a full participant in practice today, no red jersey, so he could be on track to play. And that's the thing. It's like you almost maybe want to get him back out there,
Yeah.
let Dorian Williams try to get healthy, because although he was full today, he's still on the injury report as well.
One, you want to see if Milano can shake more of that rust off. He wasn't looking like himself in the few games since he's been back. I don't know if I'll ever play that level again, the elite level that we saw. I still think he can be a very good player in this defense. But yeah, play him, let him try to shake the rust off, let Dorian Williams get healthy. So that way, come playoff time, you can make that tough decision where maybe it is Dorian Williams running with Terrell Bernard come playoff time and Matt Milano spelling him and being a reserve. But you got to let him being Milano get back into the groove of things. He missed a lot of football over the last 2 seasons. Only played a few games before he had that groin injury. So really important to get him out there. And as much as the Bills are banged up, the Jets are too. Aaron Rodgers says he's playing. I believe that he will. He was a full participant today. The hip injury for Devontae Adams, he has not practiced yet this week. Some doubt whether or not he plays in this game. Sounds like Sauce Gardner is more toward not playing in this one with a hamstring injury. I saw a few Jets reporters, beat reporters say they think Adams is more likely to play than Sauce Gardner. And again, Gardner, I don't know what the benefit of even playing him is at this point. You should probably be playing for your draft position more than anything else. But then there are also AVT with an ankle injury has not practiced this week. Morgan Moses has not practiced this week with a knee injury. They obviously lost their rookie offensive tackle last week. He's not going to play again for the rest of this year. So their O-line is really beat up, and I feel like a broken record. I feel like we're going to say, this is a game where the Bills D-line should dominate. They should be able to win their matchups, keep the run game in check, get after Aaron Rodgers a little bit. And everything points to it with the injuries that the Jets have. But this is a game where I need to see the D-line step up against an overmatched Jets O-line.
So somebody in the chat looked like was asking about the weather on Sunday. Low will be 44 degrees, high of 55.
Woo.
So
Heat
it's going to be
waves.
a little bit warmer. The temperature range will feel like 35 to 44 with the wind chill. Wind will make it feel cooler than the actual temperature. There is a 60, let me see here, 85% chance of rain, and it's going to be about half an inch to an inch of rain. So it could be a little bit
ponchos.
Yeah, bring your ponchos. That stinks. I really hope it doesn't rain from the 11 to 12 o'clock hour. Buffalo Kickoff Live. You can watch it across New York State on your CBS affiliate.
Man, when you told me 55, I was thinking, I wonder what the cargo shorts policy is in the press box. I know it's a no, I would never, but that's a heat wave in late December there, Mr. Parrino.
I would move you down a couple seats in the press box on Sunday if you wore cargo shorts. Cargo pants even. I will say the best thing about having Ryan as a partner and the fact, playing the day job, when he comes like ready to roll, dressed up, he's got his like suitcase in his one hand. He looks like Mr. Talbot coming to class for fourth period. It is a great walk into the stadium every Sunday that we get a chance to do it.
Yeah, looking forward to it this weekend for sure. And then come playoff time, at least 2 playoff games if they seal this number 2 seed. So that'll be good. I look forward to that as well.
Oh, speaking of announcements, we should get an announcement in here. Our next live show at Wingnuts is going to be Wild Card Weekend. We don't have the specific date yet because the Bills schedule isn't out yet. They can play Saturday or Sunday. So what we're going to do is we are going to be live either Friday night if it's a Saturday game, or we will be live Saturday night if it is a Sunday game. So get that in your calendar, the 10th or the 11th. Obviously, when the schedule comes out, we'll get you more details on that. But plan to be at Wingnuts the night before the Bills open their playoff push for a Super Bowl. It's going to be a fun night. I mean, those playoff shows are always electric.
Yeah, it's always a packed house. Last few shows have been packed houses just for the regular season, so I can't wait to see what the playoffs bring.
And also, if you want, sign up to become a Shout Buffalo Bills insider for the stretch run here. You can get a 2-week free trial if you send a text to 716-528-6727. The text line is brought to you by Carrie C. Byer, attorney with the law offices of Francis M. Litro, located at 237 Main Street in Buffalo, New York. If you are someone you know is seriously injured, give him a call, 716-852-1234, or check out litrolaw.com. All right, so let's get to, first of all, Lauren, her husband's prediction from back at our show in Dorado in the summer. 13-4 for the Bills in the regular season is still very much in play, which at the time seemed very lofty. I agree. There was a lot of really excited Bills fans for the prospects of this team in the season. We both came in at I believe 12 wins. I was initially on 11 and I bumped up to 12 right before the season started. And I think we were kind of in the minority, right? Obviously, Lauren's husband, though, might have just absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, he may have. And yeah, we received a lot of pushback on our 12-win prediction in terms of this is the Jets year, it's the Dolphins year. How are they going to, do that well? And lo and behold, neither team that the aforementioned teams I mentioned did anything this season. Dolphins are holding on by a string to their playoff lives. I would assume it probably ends this weekend in terms of their playoff chances. Same with potentially the Bengals, these teams that just underperformed based on their lofty expectations, whereas the Bills have exceeded all expectations. Again, another reason, if you look at what people were predicting for this Bills team, another kind of feather in Josh Allen's cap.
The other thing I wanted to hit on real quick is before we move on from Matt Milano, because I want to get to the approach that Sean McDermott's going to take down the stretch here before we get out. But I asked Sean McDermott on Monday about Matt Milano. And I tried to phrase the question in a way that kind of showed him, like, listen, I don't think anybody is questioning who Matt Milano has been over the course of his career. Everybody knows coming back from the injuries that he's had, there's going to be a bit of a ramp up, right? The problem is they're asking Matt Milano to ramp up here like a month before the start of the playoffs. And so if you get to the playoffs and he's not ramped up to the level that you need your off the ball linebacker to be, what is going to be the approach if Dorian Williams is a better player? And basically what Sean said is, listen, I'm going to give every opportunity to Matt Milano to earn the right to play in the playoffs. And listen, there's still a little bit of a stretch of time. This groin injury is a little bit of a thorn in the side as he tries to get these reps, as many as he can before the start of the playoffs. But McDermott didn't really mince any words. He said, at the end of the day, Matt Milano will accept any decision that's made, whatever ends up being in the best interest of the team. It sounded to me like if Dorian Williams gives them the best chance, he will be playing once the playoffs comes along. And listen, there's matchup specific stuff, right? Against the Ravens, they might have to go more to 4-3 than in any other matchup. So maybe Milano and Williams have to be in on the field at the same time.
Yeah, and the athleticism at this point in their respective careers points greatly to Dorian Williams. You can look at the tackling statistics. I know that's one area where Williams gets dinged by PFF weekly, is the poor tackling. So, Sean McDermott's going to sit there and lay it all out. He's going to look for what he thinks is the best matchup, but it certainly sounded like he was open to Dorian Williams potentially starting opposite Terrell Bernard come playoff time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how much Williams has quickly meant to this defense. I mean, it doesn't matter who you ask in that room, like the energy that he brings with the style of play. And I asked him about it today and he's like, listen, it's not something that I think about down to down. It's just like a natural instinct. And I think the Bills have, in a lot of ways, really valued that part of it. Guys that could play fast, that fly around. Like Milano was almost the archetype for that kind of player when they brought him in all those years ago. And Bernard has had those kinds of tendencies. Spector, even though he can't stay healthy and it doesn't look like he's going to play again this season as he goes back on injury reserve, it's kind of a tough development for him. Listen, we should all be critical of Spector and his inability to stay healthy. But at the same time, there has been pockets of play where you're like, man, you see what the Bills were hoping for with this player. And I think Dorian Williams has brought it a lot quicker than anybody anticipated. And this is 2 straight years where the Bills really hit on linebackers in the draft, trying to find pieces to replace a Tremaine Edmonds. And then because of injury, Matt Milano.
I think one position, the linebacker is the one position they look at more than anything else with that relative athletic score. Because Terrell Bernard tested off the charts. I believe Milano way back when tested off the charts in 2017. He was a safety converted to linebacker. So I'm pretty confident he tested really well that year too. Dorian Williams tested extremely well. Ulofoshio in this year's draft tested extremely well. Spector, as you previously mentioned, and Andreessen, who did not get drafted, but he was another one that was in the high nines. So they have a type that they look for at linebacker. I think they look at it as you can't teach this athleticism at that position, but we can teach them, our playbook. We can teach them our style of play. We can make them fit into our scheme, where sometimes you can't teach the speed, the side to side speed, the agility, a lot of the stuff that they seem to really favor when it comes to adding these guys, whether it's on day 2, like they did with Dorian Williams, like they did with Terrell Bernard, or whether it's even late in the drafts, like they've done in the past few years, or after the draft.
Thank you so much for watching. If you're hanging out with us on this Thursday night, we really appreciate you. Hit that like button, subscribe on YouTube. Really helps us out. If you're listening on the audio platforms, leave us a 5-star review and write a little note. We really appreciate it. Approach to these final 2 weeks, because you have to play your starters in this game coming up here. But I also think that you have a group of starters that are dealing with injuries that you have to be really careful with. And for me, I'm not playing Taylor Rapp again if I'm Sean McDermott to the playoffs. Like, I think he's sneaky really important to what they want to do. And this isn't a knock against DeMar Hamlin. Cole Bishop, I thought, has played pretty well the last couple of weeks, all things considering what he did in his first showing earlier in the season. He's showed a lot of growth. And obviously having Micah Hyde in the building now, probably, just pouring nuggets of information onto the rookie has probably helped him out quite a bit as well. And that's a little side note. If Rapp and Hamlin and Lewis and any combination of those guys can't play this week, does Micah Hyde get elevated? Could we see potentially Micah Hyde on the field with Cole Bishop? Maybe just like seeing what that thing looks like. I don't know. We'll see. Kareem Jackson still seems to be ahead of Micah on the depth chart as he kind of gets ramped back up. But I feel like that could flip at any moment because of Hyde's understanding of this defense. But I think Rapp, 2 things. Number one, you need him healthy for the playoffs. And the other thing is, these reps, whatever it ends up being, 100 to 120 reps over the next 2 games, give them to the rookie Cole Bishop. You want him to have as much experience going into the playoffs so that if there is an injury or a rash of injuries at the position, now he's playing in the playoffs based on so many more opportunities in the regular season.
Yeah, Bishop needs those reps. He's still struggling at times in terms of covering the tight ends, something that with the athleticism you're hoping he gets better at it in due time, but you're liking some plays as well coming up, willing tackler, some of the athleticism that he has displayed in those games so far. But the more reps, the better for this young kid. I agree with you with Rapp, the way that he plays, the style that he plays, the understanding of the system. You need him healthy come playoff time. So go with Bishop, go with Cam Lewis. If Hamlin's healthy enough to play, you could throw him out there. I would be shocked if we don't see Micah Hyde. I would at least say next week against the Patriots. You want to at least get him active for 1 game, get him some snaps and some reps in the event, because again, rash of injuries can take place. You have unlimited elevations come playoff time, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was a guy that they went to come playoff time, just to make sure they had that extra guy at the position with all the injuries that they sustained there this season. So it's a good thing they have Kareem Jackson, that they've had him all year, but I think Micah Hyde is going to have his number called soon enough.
I'm also being a little bit careful with Dalton Kincaid. Obviously, still wearing that knee. He's wearing a knee brace now. There's a couple pictures of it floating around on social media from practice today. Obviously, that might be something that, we don't know the details of the injury, but something that he might just have to manage over the course of the rest of this season. And you go back to his game last week against the Patriots, he only played 34% of the snaps, Ryan. So he's obviously playing hurt. I'd almost hold him out entirely, maybe even make him inactive, a healthy scratch. Like, give him all the time in the world, which would basically be from the time they played the Patriots last week, 3 weeks of just rest on that knee. Or maybe it's a situation where it's not going to get any better with rest. You just throw him out there for, a comparable amount of snaps.
Well, and the good thing is you have Dawson Knox, who has stepped up in a tremendous fashion this season. He was dealing with the wrist injury last year that hampered his play. This year, he's made some spectacular catches. You look at the Lions game and being able to haul in a pass that was just a little off the mark, and he's been a really good weapon for Josh Allen, although his number hasn't been called a ton this season. He's come up with the plays when needed. He is their best blocking option at the position. Not elite in that regard, but elite compared to the other tight ends in that room. So I don't think when you're going against the Jets and the Patriots potentially in these last two games, if you're going to play your starters in that last one, I don't think it's a bad thing to have Knox having to play the majority of the reps, though, at the position, especially this weekend against the Jets.
One of my favorite people on the beat, or otherwise, Mark Gaughan, did a deep dive on he does it every week for the Buffalo News on the all 22 type stuff. He goes back, watches the tape. And one observation that he made and he wrote about, and I think everybody should go read it, it's a really good piece, was the Bills kind of leaning into a different personnel package this past week. If you look at the snap count, Dawson Knox at 56%, Dalton Kincaid down there at 34%. Reggie Gilliam had the most snaps on offense he's had in a game all season, 31%. They were going with some 20 personnel packages with the two running backs, no tight ends. That could be something that, we talk about evolving as a play caller, right? Joe Brady coming up with new wrinkles and adding new elements for teams to have to prepare for. And maybe it's just this, Ryan. Maybe it's just we're going to run 20 over the final 3 weeks of the season and then force teams to prepare for that in the playoffs and then not run it at all in the playoffs. Right. Go back to what we were doing before. But just that install, that extra layer that's thrown into there, it's all about the chess game this time of year.
Yeah, and Josh Allen said it last week. We're not going to unveil everything right now, but you might unveil a few things as decoys because obviously the offense didn't have their greatest matchup or their greatest play last week, but you want to get some of that personnel on film, like you said, make defenses prepare for it. And, to Reggie Gilliam's credit, there was a short pass that went out in the flat and he was on the field for it. It still stands out in my mind. And as soon as he saw the receiver or the back catch the ball, he immediately sprang into action on that second level and started blocking, and led to a sizable gain down the sidelines for that Bills player. And I saw him a few times make nice blocks. So he sticks around, obviously, for his special teams play more than anything else, but he did make some notable plays for the offense last week in a game where they didn't necessarily have their A game.
A couple questions in the chat here about Allen's health here. He was asked how his shoulder and elbow felt throwing the ball today. He said they feel good. He's just a little sore from the last game. Probably took too many opportunities for them to lay their hands and pads on me. So just got to be smarter and make sure that we're rolling here. So to me, this feels like, unless you got to break glass in case of emergency, and I'm talking about fourth quarter, need a touchdown drive, I'm not running Josh Allen at all in this game. And I'm asking the receivers to plaster or to scramble like crazy in the scramble drill. I think that secondary, there's opportunities to run against them. This could be a big Bills running back game, but man, keep him healthy at all costs. That's the number one priority over those next 2 weeks.
Yeah. And if Allen does decide to run, the coaching staff needs to drill into him. You do not take any contact. You either go out of bounds or you slide. We don't want you to take those type of hits with the more important games looming here on the horizon. So it's something he has to certainly consider in this game. And I don't think you're going to see a lot of quarterback sweeps drawn up. Obviously, if they get into those 3rd and inches, 4th and inches, I still think they're going to run the tush push with the quarterback. You still don't want him to take those hits either, but that's kind of been their bread and butter in terms of moving the chains.
I was just scrolling through Twitter real quick because I want to look at that poll and see if there was any more votes on it. And I came across a clip from FS1 where Paul Pierce, of all people, is arguing why Josh Allen should be the MVP. Like, we've really reached the peak of just trash TV. Like, a former, pretty good basketball player, years later, just, what are we doing here? This is my biggest problem with all of that. Shannon Sharp out there, arguing with Kirk Herbstreit because they were going back and forth about Ohio State. Dude, I don't know. That's another show. We'll get into that later. I want to bring this up though. I sent you a picture of it. My wife got me a cold plunge. I've been asking for this for a while. Got it for me for Christmas. So I did a bathtub cold plunge last week. Got waist deep for about 15 seconds and then popped back out. It was rough. So tomorrow, I'm going to get this thing out there. If you're an insider, if you follow me on social media and you could send me some notes, give me some of your best tips on how to really grit your teeth and bear it and get through it. Cause I'm really interested in seeing if there's any like mainly like the inflammation reducing benefits of the cold plunge. Like I want to see after like a really good workout, if the recovery is better. My guy Dana White swears by cold plunges, so I've been dying to do it for years. But I'm scared, Ryan. I'm soft. Kobe Bryant would not be a fan of my mental framework.
Well, I know you said the first one was in the bathtub. I think the thing is you have to go like to your neck. I
Okay.
think so. That's one. And then the breathing, everything I've seen about it is the breathing techniques once you get in there.
So is it like I did a lot of breathing exercises getting Caitlin ready to have the kids. So like I have a lot of
It might
practice.
be.
I'm ready to go.
It might just be like those Lamaze classes. Yeah.
It's like slowing it all down, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I'm worried. So if you have any best tips, send them along.
I can't wait to see a video.
Final word, Ryan Talbot. Hit us with
Yeah,
it.
a final word. We'll have you with the preview episode. We'll have you live after the game from Highmark Stadium on Sunday. So stick with us here, and if you can't be at the stadium, head out to Top Slider Sunday, Matt.
Yeah, man, it's big time this Sunday. Every Sunday, Slider Sunday. Shout out to Daryl telling me to keep my socks on and putting a towel on my head. Send me a DM with a little bit more details on that, Daryl, please. Okay, I want the exact specifications of the towel on the head. I don't know there. Get ready for Slider Sunday your way with King's Hawaiian at Tops. Every Sunday is an opportunity to enjoy delicious sliders made your way, and now you can win big while doing it. Vote for your favorite slider weekly for a chance to win tickets to the big game. Grab your favorite King's Hawaiian products from Tops and craft the ultimate sliders to make your Sunday even more special. Visit topsmarkets.com/Slider Sunday. I'm heading over on Sal's house, first quarter watch party, Thursday Night Football. You can find that on all of his channels. So come hang out with us in a little while. For Ryan, I'm Matt. We'll be back tomorrow with the preview show. See you then, everybody. Take care.